Aloha mai kako, and welcome to the Aloha Hour, episode number 64. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we get started, we'd like to mahalo our friends from Waiakea Water, and also mahalo to our friends from The Secret Spot in Waikiki for giving us location and beverage this morning. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, before we get started, please do us a favor, like, share, subscribe, and do us a favor, help us grow, and we can help you grow, and we can all grow together. Johnny.
All right, and today our guest is Daniel Anthony, and before we started we asked him what is the name, and he was just about to explain the name, and then he started with the crazy story, so we stopped and we said, okay, wait, let's start to record.
Yeah.
We need that.
Yes.
All right, guys. Aloha. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of your podcast. And Anthony comes from my great-great-grandmother, and she was the only one to make it from India to Fiji out of a family of 11. And at 4 years old, they were going to put her in a pillowcase and throw her in the harbor. But it was the servants of the governor of Fiji that overheard the sailors and adopted her. And so she grew up in the servants' quarters of the governor of Fiji. And when she was 18, the rumor was it was the Irish stagecoach driver that got her pregnant, and she was kicked out. And it wasn't until about 30 years ago where my grandfather read the memoirs of the governor of Fiji by his grandson, what it explicitly spoke about him, the governor, sleeping with my great-great-grandmother and then kicking her out.
Oh, bro.
So it's actually, I'm English,
Damn.
via the governor of Fiji, an East Indian, of which my great-great-grandmother married, so she had my great-grandfather, and my great-grandfather carried the name Anthony, and he gave birth to my grandfather, was the donor for my grandfather. And in 1959, my grandfather led a political strike in Fiji that was the beginning of the downfall of the British in Fiji. Within 10 years, the British had pulled out. And one of the reasons that my grandfather was not jailed or murdered by the government is because everybody knew he was the illegitimate grandson of the governor but him. Wow. So... my grandfather, the strike was so big that the Fijian government made a deal that they would pay for him to go to university, but he could never live in Fiji again. And so he took his wife's children, my uncle, my aunt, and my mother, she was 4, from the village, and brought them to Hawaii.
Wow,
and
that's
so
a crazy story, man.
Technically, I'm kind of a refugee, or my roots are from people that have been expelled out of countries for political reasons. My grandfather came here, very well-known political activist, Jim Anthony, and his first wife, Pua Hopkins, was one of the founders of Hawaiian language curriculum in the university system. His second wife, Lily Kala, was or is the current head of Hawaiian studies. And from those, he had a plethora of kids. You might know Na'alehu Anthony. He's OEV TV, a captain of the Hokulea.
Oh.
And then his sister Punihe is the UH Chancellor's head of cultural advisement. So I'm kind of the outcast in the family. I have 2 grandfathers. Both of them have PhDs. I just did a post, and I listed them as doctors. I said GED grandson. I was supposed to get out of school in 1996, but I got out a year early for good behavior from Waianae High School. And I was a little disappointed, honestly, because I'm a part of the alumni, or at least I thought I was. And they're like, no, Daniel, you didn't actually graduate with us, so we can have you as a guest. But technically, you're not alumni. I was like, oh my goodness, hurt my feelings. But yeah,
They're alumnist.
That's crazy.
You're an alum, bro.
That's the roots of my Anthony name. And then my dad's dad, Dr. Fred Dodge, was the first resident physician of the Waianae Coast Comprehensive Health Center. So he was the director
Wait. Your dad's dad was what?
The first director of the Waianae Coast Comprehensive Health Center. There's a whole wing named after him.
Dodge.
Dr. Fred Dodge.
That's your dad's dad?
Yes, my grandpa.
Oh,
That was your doctor.
Dodge was my grandma and my my doctor bra going up.
So let me tell you this funny story.
Wow.
Dr. Dodge,
Okay.
yeah.
So I was a naughty kid, but the naughty kids, I'm talking like the drug dealers and the criminals that were my friends, I wasn't allowed to play with them because their mom and their grandma was patients of my grandpa, and they would have brought shame to their family. So they were, I actually probably was saved from going to prison and a whole different life simply because of who my grandfather was and the work and the relationship in the Waianae community.
Bro, Dr. Dodd, I remember him very clearly, bro. I'm pretty sure he fixed my wrist. I broke my wrist when I was a little kid, and Waianae Cop was kind of gangster, bro. I'm not gonna lie. As far as a hospital, bro, I swear, I'm bust my wrist. The bones are like this, yeah, like 2 C's. Almost broke right off. It was hanging by like a little inch of a bone, and it sank. And what he did was he's hooked my arm up to a thing. He's like, okay, I'm just gonna pull your wrist out and adjust it. And he yanked my wrist back out, twisted it, and clamped it back on. He said, okay, we're gonna hold it together and it's gonna fuse, and your wrist is gonna be fine. I was like, bro, I cannot bend my wrist to this day like this.
Not.
I can do this on this side, but this side's stiff.
Fuck off.
Bro, gangster, bro. He's just like, hey, you're good, okay, go. Like,
You got it easy. My grand's solution for everything was cut it off.
oh.
So I'd be fully hurting. I'd be like, oh, I'm fine, Grandpa. No, really.
Dr. Dodge give me a good straight because of that. Because, you know, wrist solid, I know.
Thanks, Gramps.
Oh, that's crazy. I did not know any of that, bro.
Small world. Yeah.
Very.
So, you know, my whole life has been in the community. Yeah. I'm one of those kids that, as fate would have it, I wouldn't really have like a strong woman figure as a mother in my life. That was, you know, my mom left me when I was 1. My dad at 2 married Gwen Poe, Poe, which is an old Taro family from Waianae. And so that really began a deep, I don't even want to say indoctrination, but I grew up in a farming community. And I grew up in the household of some of the last Kuleana Tower farmers in Waianae. You know, and I wasn't their blood grandchild, but they licked me just as much as all the rest of their grandkids. And my stepmom was the youngest daughter. And so my dad was a fisherman. She was always at her parents' house. So I was raised in a very, you know, I want to say a modern Hawaiian family. Papa was a mason, but he came home every day and worked the farm. And Grandma Poe was a stay-home grandmother. She picked us up every day from school. You know, being a mason in the union, he did well. So growing up, I went to McDonald's every single day after school. Yeah, these were just like the rituals and habits that we had. I went home to a household that had poi, but it was reserved for the kupuna, for the elders. And Grandma used to literally tell us, yeah, eat the rice because you no can afford the poi. And these are people that, you know, were the last taro farmers in the valley. And their lifestyle changed as the water changed. Yeah.
Well, there was a lot more water back then, right? Like water control or no?
Well, you know, if you look in the I'm trying to think of what it's the 1981 Taro Almanac. They used to do this. Taro was such a big thing in Hawaii. Yeah, it's a hugest industry, right? When Captain Cook guys came, these guys are pulling 3 to 5 billion pounds of kało.
Oh.
Because you probably would be like the skinny, the small kid in 1778, right?
Yeah.
And you'd be eating 5 to 15 pounds of poi a day. And you do that by 1 million Hawaiians, we're looking at a low end 5 million pounds a day. Well, you times that by 365 days a year. And that was a struggling Hawaiian community and economy, right? And they were doing this on a very small set of farmlands. They're saying they pulled this off with 20,000 acres of taro.
Bruh.
So 20,000 acres could sustain 1 million people, 5 to 15 pounds of poi every single day.
That is insane.
To be the last in that I inherited a lot of things that I didn't understand. You know, I have worked hard to be a good co-parent and a good father in my relationships, so that I know that the mothers of my children are really a part of their lives. Yeah, and growing up is crazy. The most solid wahine growing up was my neighbor, Auntie Margie Pereira. Yeah, and from literally 2 till 16, 17, 18, I could go over next door and eat and be treated like one of her grandkids. And this 5-foot Portuguese lady was the most amazing farmer. She'd wake up at like, I don't know, 3 o'clock in the morning and like make breakfast and do laundry, and then wake her husband up, Uncle Joe, and then he'd drop her off at the elementary school to make breakfast and lunch for the kids, because she was a DOE cafeteria worker, while he went to Del Monte as a machinist. And then she would come home after school. You know, she's home by 2 o'clock, catch the bus. She'd feed 500 pigs, goats, turkeys, ducks, she'd feed everybody. Uncle Joe would come home 5 o'clock. He'd shoot down the pig pen. Okay? And he was the pig farmer. Auntie Margie was so legend. And you know, just to have people in your community that love you and look out for you as if you were their own is a powerful value. It's a treasure in our community. I was actually at Auntie Margie's funeral, and I did the math, and I realized that I didn't come into her life till she was 48 years old. And right now at this moment I'm 46. And so what I realized in that moment was that I haven't actually even started to give back yet. That the single most impactful wahine in my life, 48 years old, is when I met her. And so it really has helped me to understand what my role is in my own community, and what, you know, my job is supposed to, you know, be that uncle that will feed you. Yeah, that's growing food, that is welcoming, but if you come, you got to work. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's always a reciprocal sort of environment where, yeah, you're working hard, but you're taking with you life skills. Yeah, I deal with kids that no one's ever taught them how to dig a hole. Yeah, but believe it or not, a grown man as a kid physically showed me how to shovel. And then to be an adult and watch other adults shovel. You know, I don't know if you guys have ever gone to a groundbreaking and they're with the o'os and they're going like this with the o'o, and you're like, oh my goodness, your daddy never taught you how to use your o'o, boy. But the reality is that these skills, yeah, are not common sense. And I'm blessed that today the ability to engage in agriculture, animal husbandry, and community have a place and a value. You know, and it's ever turbulent, changing world. I mean, today you guys heard the dock strike started, yeah? Let me tell you, every one of my pigs, they went up 75 cents a pound, guys. Yeah. It was 100 yesterday, it's 150 today.
You better believe that. Good job.
Right? Well, and it's this idea and understanding that, oh wait, Daniel, you're only as food secure as your neighbor. Yeah. So now it's actually the sides have flipped. Instead of the value went up, now the risk goes up because more people want it. Yeah. Right? So in realizing this, I've actually helped multiple families start their own no-smell piggery. Right? Start to begin making and building soil in Mililani, in Eva Beach, right? Because the idea about being subsistence is this thought that has left us, like there's no way that I can be this. Yeah. But you know, every single source of energy that comes out of our life, which is mostly our waste, yeah, has been relegated to somebody's business when it should actually be our business. Yeah, if you know how to manage your doo-doo, then you feed your soil. Yeah. human manure is a missing component in agriculture only maybe the last 150 years. Yeah, for the 2 million years of human existence before that, we were totally okay with pooping in the same fields that we were growing food in. And that we had actually had systems. I mean, can you imagine this? 1 million Hawaiians making 15 pound a day poi doodles. Yeah? And then what were they doing with all of that sewage? But the understanding is, how do you feed the land?
Yeah.
Right? And then you feed the land all these different components. And at some point, the land is healthy. See, what you and I, nobody has experienced is what is actually the potential of a healthy Hawaii. We grew up in a sick Hawaii. One occupied by U.S. military. One being poisoned through, everything from military poisoning to chemical ag poisoning, right? I've stood on issues of GMOs. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've stood on issues that talked about, how do we heal from the toxic chemicals that they every single day are spraying on this island. Yeah, you can go places and the place seems so big that you would think, oh, this goes forever. But we have cleared America from one side, the East Coast to the West Coast. We have cleared it. We have deforested. We have used all the resources. It's like, guys, we're on an island. Yeah. Yeah, our island is luckily not even a hair on our head of a whole body of this place. And they've managed to extinguish everything. How do we change that? And I don't know how, but I know that we can make soils and enrich our lives through simple living practices and begin to regain our sanity. Because when you engage a world that's insane, mm-hmm. Yeah, at some point you become crazy. Yeah. Because you accept it. 100%. And I gave this analogy, it's like you live in a pile of shit and people are telling you to pick your head up out of this shit and you're like, no, it's gotta be this way. It's like,
Rob, let me ask you this. Like, you're very knowledgeable on farming and sustainability. Where did you learn? Was this stuff you just learned working on a farm your whole life? Was there any kind of where does all this mana'o come from?
I hate to say, my brain is a supercomputer,
and
it super sucks to look back and realize that I should have been more serious about this, mm-hmm. that I went out and I learned from doing all the things that you're not supposed to be doing. But because I did those things, I ended up hanging out with the elders. Yeah. So kind of the chain of events, right? So my real mother at 1, she leaves. I'm with my stepmom from 2 to 12. At 12, I actually spent a year in Kilkaha. I go to 6th grade at Kilkaha Elementary. I'll tell you guys a terrible story. Okay, this is my Kilkaha Elementary, what made me famous for Mrs. Wong. Now, anybody that went to Kilkaha Elementary knows Mrs. Wong. She is like this storybook Caucasian teacher that is like, if you naughty, you went to her class. So, of course, I was naughty. I ended up in her class.
You're the Wong one.
I was in the Wong class. Yeah. I was not the right boy. Anyway, that's another story I'll tell you about the Wongs and the rights of Kalihi and how the right boy married the Wong girl and made her a white girl, okay? That's another true story. But Mrs. Wong, every year, 6th grade, they go to Kilauea military camp for a week. It's got the bowling alley. Well, I was the only 6th grader the whole year that didn't go to that. And I had to go hang out with the kindergarteners. Where you got that small table and your knees is little sitting on a chair, you're cruising. I swear to God, she did this to punish. She did it to punish me. And I had to write a report about anything I wanted. So I said, I'm going to write them on rabbits. She goes, how come rabbits? So, I grew up raising rabbits. So Monday morning comes. Roll call. Everybody, Mr. Anthony is going to give us his report on rabbits. So I grab my papers. I go up. Rabbits by Daniel Anthony. Rabbits eat shit and die. Boom, 2 week suspension. No. Oh yeah, Mrs. Wong.
You wasn't wrong.
That's what I told her, lady. I said, I raise rabbits. We eat rabbits. These are things. It's Auntie Margie.
Yeah.
Auntie Margie ran every type of animal you could imagine. I have eaten. The only things I never ate on that farm was the rats, the cats, the cattle egrets. But everything else that was harvested, I'm talking from, I've harvested 100 pigeons in a row. And you having the littlest, tiniest little pigeon, duck, geese, pheasant, goat, lamb, sheep. We're talking, I didn't eat the horse, but I did. The cow, every phase of pig you could imagine, from suckling pig to like accidentally harvest a female and she's full of babies and they eat that one.
No.
Okay. Let me tell you, accidents happen, and then we shouldn't waste meat.
Sure,
That's all I'm saying.
Okay, well, since the accident did happen and you got to partake.
Interesting. I told myself that I would never put my kids through raising pigs, because twice a week they burn slop, and then if you didn't take your laundry down, you smelled like slop. All of our food waste is so greasy and oily.
Yeah.
And what we would do is like Cathay Inn and Big Save and Tamura's, we'd pick up all the slop from those places, and there would be 4 inches of maggots. Yeah, and we'd dump all of this stuff into a huge cauldron. I'm talking like 5 feet by 10 feet by 5 feet deep, and then we would load it with pallets. And what would happen is that all the oil would float to the surface, and we'd scrape off the oil, and then we'd use that on the fire to make the fire burn hotter, but the smoke would be black, and I'm just talking so rancid. And then Uncle Joe, pig farmer, oily. Yeah, and it's just you're in and around so much oil, and it just wasn't something that I didn't desire that to have in my life. But when I went out into the world, the food never did taste like how it tasted growing up. Yeah, my dad was a fisherman, so always had fresh fish. We live in a farm country. My neighbors always had fresh meat. I've harvested, a cow a year of my life, and always had meat in the freezer, rabbit, and all these different things. And then you come out into the world, it don't taste the same.
What about that McDonald's though?
This is kind of crazy, right? So my dad and my mom divorced when I was 12.
Yeah.
And I was so hurt because my stepmom didn't have any legal authority over me, so my sister would go with my mom through the week, and I was stuck with my dad, and I stopped going to McDonald's. And I used to be so mad because my dad is a full health nut, been super healthy for a long time. Like, I rebelled in my household by buying sugary cereal and spam, making spam musubis when I was in my teens and I had my own money. This is how we rebelled. Yeah. My dad was ahead of his time. Yeah, what happened was he divorced my stepmom, and he had to be a father. So he quit fishing, and his job he took was Ka'ala Farms. So while I was in 7th and 8th grade, my dad worked at Ka'ala Farms, and right across the street is Opelu Project. And so every day after school, I would have to walk over to Opelu Project. And there's something to be said about becoming your environment. Yeah, and even though I didn't want to be there, I've actually had to, in my own memory, go back and watch these elders do stuff from different angles and relearn things that I just was there not paying attention. But the memories are so vivid that I have to recall those memories because those elders are gone. So my dad was influenced by Eddie Ka'anana, of course, Eric Enos, Punani Burgess, Uncle Walter Paulo. My dad got into making poi boards and stones. So I don't know what year you were in Waianae Intermediate, but he had the Aipohaku workshop.
I went to Nanakuli.
You went to Nanakuli. Okay, so in the intermediate for about 13 years, he ran a program where the kids made ulumaikas and poi pounders and pounded kalo and grew food. And, you know, a lot of those kids are movers and shakers today. Yeah, and I was just a guy that honestly just resisted. You know, I don't know how much kids you get, but I think you get more kids, yeah, than him.
I get 2, he get 1.
You get 1. Your kids, they do some damage on you. You know, his hair's still nice and black, but you and me, my friend, you can tell the kids abuse us.
Yeah, well,
Yeah?
this is all like
Well,
that,
you got
that's why.
7, to be fair.
I try to abuse back. That's why it's still a little bit some black, but you know, I definitely gave my dad gray hairs. I did a lot of, you know, that people, they talk about their na'au, yeah, but my na'au has always spoken to me from a little kid, yeah. And there was a period in my life where every time it said don't do it, just out of spite, I did it. And oh my God, the kind of trouble that I got into from not listening to my na'au, yeah, put me in a real just dark space. And you know, at some point I came to a realization that if I'm gonna live, you know, in this world, that I should start listening. And I've been training myself, feeding my na'au. That's why I eat good food, yeah. And
When, what age was that pivot?
you know, so what happened was, right, I got my GED when I was just turned 17, and I ran away because I couldn't be at home with my dad. It was such a clash. And while I was on the Big Island, I just continued down a path of unhealthy choices. And in that 1 year span, I had really just, you know what I didn't have? I didn't have a vision for my future. Yeah, and I was just doing things on kind of like a whim, and not really, like, I was still in that time period of doing everything my na'au said not to. Yeah, and it was a real dark period. And actually, I put a gun in my mouth. Yeah, and I was ready to commit suicide. And it was solely me thinking about someone telling my grandma that her grandson had committed suicide. That of all the things that I've done to my grandma, I wasn't willing to do that. And then I just realized, all right, dude, if you're gonna do this, you know. And so my journey, you know, I came back from the Big Island. I went to Leeward. I took Hawaiian language.
Big Island will do that to you, bro. Big Island will put you in check on how big that island is, and then how vast it is, and how dark and quiet it gets at night, and it's just you, bro. It'll put you in that space of figuring yourself out.
I was definitely running from responsibility. Yeah.
You can hide anywhere over there. Yeah? Just miles and miles of.
And where I was, bruh, the places I was, you know, King's Landing, was backside, like end of the road kind, like, you know, I've been blessed. I have just enough family all over the place to have traveled and gone island hopping. I've been Big Island, from, you know, Waimanu Valley to Hakalau to, you know, Road to the Sea, South Point, Paul. I mean, the my family really, as kids, they journeyed us. I literally have no excuses. I've always had great people in my life. I've always went on great missions. Like a stupid dummy. Yeah, we go Halape. It's our camp and only one other camp. And at like 12 years old, I decide to go steal all the shit. Fucking the Waianae boy in me, a Waianae boy something, you know what I'm saying? Boom. And then, of course, only get 2 camps. Your light, your flash, you know, your knife missing. Like, you know, just, I can tell you what my life was like when I was actively making all the worst decisions. Actively choosing.
So where did the boarding school fit into this?
Oh, brah.
Because that's supposed to be a reform, right?
So this
You
is
go
what
to
happened.
boarding
This
school
is what
and-
happened boarding school, okay? summer of well, 8th grade summer, going into 9th grade. So you gotta understand, I come from, like, even my grandpa one doctor. My grandpa lived super meager. Yeah. My dad is like the only guy I know can survive on 12 grand a year.
12 grand a year.
Fucking guy. Sorry for swear, but my dad is like. So my dad created this snack bar called Aina Bars, and it's made from kiawe bean flour that he gathers out in Waianae. Right? My dad is so legend on this. He's been doing it for so long. He'll show up to Waianae Boat Harbor, and he'll buy kiawe beans from the cousins living in the bushes, right? And at this point, he'll drop like $1,000 on beans. Like, they'll just, Brad, next time you go Waianae, try go over there and try pick up one bean off the ground without one auntie. Oh, boy, whoa, this auntie's tree.
Wow.
You know, besides being a fisherman and just a really simple, my dad is like the simplest eater, wastes zero. Like, my dad hasn't worn slippers, okay, in like 35 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Barefoot.
He bragged that the soles of his shoes gets thicker the more he use them.
True that.
Like, my dad is hardcore. My dad is so, like,
But not Hawaiian, right?
not Hawaiian. And I used to be full shame. I tell you, my dad is how crazy. My dad and my grandpa. So my dad's dad, my grandpa. I just thought, like, in Waianae, it's real weird. Yeah, you real, like, I was born super racist. Yeah, except my grandpa's straight, as Caucasian as it can get.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this guy's Austrian, Hungarian, Jewish.
Yeah.
Firstborn on that line in the United States. Okay, goes to war, born in New Jersey, goes to war in Japan, meets my grandma. Now, my grandpa was a doctor in the war. He never carried a gun. Okay, the horrors that he saw serving that changed his whole outlook in life. My grandfather, his group, Malama Makua, successfully stopped the U.S. military from bombing in Makua Valley. Stopped all live fire training. Yeah, like this is a guy that was in the Army, came out of the Army. He then went to Thomas Jefferson Medical School and was the 1959 valedictorian. He could go to anywhere in the world. He came here and he chose to stand up and fight with community. Yeah, and I always just thought, like, oh, it's because he's white that people listen to him. Yeah, but this guy was the one of the top medical professionals in the U.S. I mean, Thomas Jefferson is like an Ivy League. It's a big thing to graduate with that. Yeah. When you see how racist Waianae is, but then you have someone as beloved as my grandpa in the community, you're real torn. You're real confused. Yeah. And I've had to digest some of this shit because I lived in both households, yeah? And, you know, my question is, like, how do you not pass down hatred for a color of a person? Yeah?
It's tough, bro.
It's tough.
I grew up the same way. My grandma, has 5 different kids from 3 or 4 different husbands. I want to say 3 different. All Navy men who came, made love to my grandma, and hele on out, and left her to raise her children. And bro, I even seen one of them on top of what the fuck they call that, like ancestry or whatever. And like I have my mom's dad's family, like daughters or whatever, hitting me up like, oh, we're in the same family tree. You're from Hawaii. My dad spent time with there during his time in the Navy. Let's get to know each other. And at that fucking moment, bro, I don't know whether to hate you or not, because all I see is what somebody did to my grandma. You know what I mean? I have the guy's blood, bro, and I'm like, nah, fuck this guy. He don't deserve to see me. Like, I understand family is everything, but so a lot of my life growing up, my grandma would always say, "Fucking howlies, these fucking howlies," and I can see it from her standpoint because all they did was break her heart. You know, so a lot of my life I grew up hearing that, and I've grown out of it since, and I understand things are for moments and people's story, and even though it bled over to part of my life, I had the control to change it because I do understand it. I didn't have to keep it, and that's what was so I can see like fucking passing down racism is very, it's very normal, bruh. Here.
So I'm a confused 8th grader, okay, from a poor family. Now, if you know anything about Y&I, we're talking auntie on EBT running 12 bracelets. Yeah? Full broke house. Meanest, lifted, dropped, rims, sounds, everything. Yeah? It's very, like, and if you don't come like that, then you treat it differently. And there I am, the doctor's grandson, but my father was giving me like $30 for go swap meet for buy school clothes. So I figured out the passcode to my auntie's bank card, and I started stealing money from my auntie. And over my 9th grade year, yeah, always had extra money. Well, my auntie, who is the Iolani, and you know Iolani, we talking all the accountants and all the engineers. This is the strong math guys, right?
Yeah.
She only did her statement. She was like, oh, the following year, she was bouncing checks. And, oh, what the heck? I should have money in there. So boom, big beef with her boyfriend. Me, I'm all silent. Oh shit. And finally they call me inside the house. They have pictures from the ATM machine of me withdrawing the money. And I'm like, no, that's a blurry picture. That's not me. It's like, Daniel, it's the same jacket. Anybody, just. So I get busted. My family doesn't know what to do. They think I'm on drugs. They don't realize that it's just freaking hard being a skinny little big-eared kid in Y&I with no freaking mom, and you're just trying to fit in, and then if you get nice clothes, then nobody bother you. Yeah. And they freaking called the police, and I got arrested, and I went through the juvenile court system at 14 years old, and I was summer after 9th grade, I was sentenced to 1 year in detention home or boarding school. And my aunt, bless her heart, was like, my nephew not going DH, and she presented 3 boarding schools. And at the time, I looked at the map, and it was like California, Florida, New Hampshire, and I looked, and the border to Canada was about 1 inch, and I said, I can make that inch. And I chose New Hampshire because I thought I was good. I wasn't planning on not getting in trouble. I was planning on having 16 hours from when my dad left Honolulu airport to when he landed in New Hampshire to kill me, that I could run to the border. Dad, let me tell you, 1 inch, ladies, is far on a map. I never did see the Canadian border from New Hampshire. I did experience Arctic winds. To go 10th grade completely outside of your realm was a real life-changing moment for me. Sometime in November at school, I was scratching my head, and a single piece of sand was embedded in my scalp from surfing so much. And I took that sand and I put on a piece of Scotch tape, and every night before I went to sleep, I would rub that sand. And when I came home, I freaking took that little piece of sand, I brought it back to the beach. And that little tiny sand right there, through the coldest nights, our rooms are heated to 60. Okay, and I have a rule still yet. If it's 60 in the morning, below 60, 59, it's a snow day, so we're not going to school. My room is heated to 60. New Hampshire is no joke. No joke. But then during that year, I had in the midst of all of this, there's this thing called intercession, and it was like a 2-month break, like mid-January to March. And basically, you have to leave the school. It's the worst part of the winter. You have to leave the school and pick any project that you want and come back and present. And we had a Native American family come and stay with us and live with us for about a year. And they had moved back to New Hampshire, to Washington State.
He stayed at you in Waianae?
In Waianae.
Fuck, did they tour the schools? Is that a thing?
Nah. What had happened was, my dad met this Ohana at one powwow at Thomas Square, and then the Uncle Steve, he met some folks from one. You know how Waianae get all the halfway houses and so forth, and they offered him a job. So he came down, moved his whole family, and he 3 daughters, wife, moved into one of those halfway houses, and within the first month was like, whoa, this is no place for my daughters and my wife. So they ended up moving down the street to our house, because in Waianae we have a 5-bedroom house, a full old plantation house, and they moved into half of that house. And so I called up Uncle Steve and asked to intern with him, and he was the medicine man of the Suquamish tribe. So I went and spent 2 months studying under him, and I had to carve a piece for everybody that I had hurt. And so my auntie, my mom, my grandma, all these people. Now my auntie that I stole from later became Senator Miley Shimabukuro.
Oh.
So,
I'm gonna tell on you. Nah, she know
she
sent him to jail.
Actually, to tell you guys, it was a major moment in life. I remember I was 26 years old. And that was the first time in my family. Like, I ran away at 17, but up until I was 26, anytime something went missing or was wrong, I was automatically blamed. And finally, at 26, I had done enough good for my family not to rightfully accuse me first. So, you know, I could, like I said, I can tell you the stories of not listening to your na'au and just doing everything negative. And I could tell you the story of doing good things out in the community, but not having a good home. You know, coming home, my first marriage it looked good, but it wasn't healthy. Yeah, and I didn't know how to get out, and I got out of it in an unhealthy way. I had a baby with my wife's best friend, and that's the love of my life who I've been with since. And today, you know, for the last decade has really been, I don't want to say grown up, because I think growing up is kind of a sad thing, but I think I definitely have enough life experience to want to make good decisions every chance I get. Yeah, and at this point I have my main following, is between 18 months old and 18 years old. And a lot of what I judge today, you know, we live in this insane world. How do you know if you're being porno? My kids. Yeah, I judge a lot of what I do through their eyes. And pretty much the only person that on social media, like, that I'll listen to is my 18-year-old. She'll be like, Dad. Because, you know, I have this magic skill. I could just hurt feelings. Like, I just, you know, we're all so flawed. Yeah. That it's not hard to see your own flaws in others. Yeah. And you know, as my wife says, are you making friends? That's that she wants to make sure I'm out there in the world making friends, because I equally know how to stir the pot. And sometimes you have to. You know?
Well, it's worked for you in many ways. I think that's how you got my attention one of the first times, is because you're very like Aloha Aina, right? But you attack it in a very aggressive way. I don't remember what was the first time I started noticing you, but I do remember some of the things you were doing, like which I thought was great, renegade planting. That was like a thing, right?
Planting is the new protest.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And that right there was like, I thought, oh, it's fucking genius, bro. You know, I always have this I don't know, it's an idea. It's a random idea. Like, okay, if the world goes to shit, right? We as local people here in Hawaii, we all have, what is our strength? Not all of us get money, but we have strength in each other, strength in numbers. Who's to say one day, you know what, fucking, we can't afford to live nowhere. That's an empty house owned by somebody foreign. Let's just go move in the fucking place, right? Why don't we just squat wherever we like? This is our land, we take care of it. Now, this is an idealist, of course, it's like super illegal. Probably going to be very
Let me tell you this. The government does it all the time. And right now the government could say, you know what? All foreign property owners, we're seizing your land and we're moving local people in. Yeah. That's how freaking easy it is. Right? This is the thing about the politics. And you say I'm a little bit like, I've sat in enough rooms to know they're all making it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if they can make it up, is that not our power to dream?
Yeah.
Right? You got a dream, bro.
Yeah.
I tell you what the challenge to your dream is. Everybody hooked on pharmaceuticals. So once the thing stop, I'm going to have one real bad period. Yeah? That's why I tell everybody, I've been a broken record. You know, let's grow our own medicine. Let's make our food our medicine. Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's put some effort, some sweat equity into it. Understanding, like, this single... Look, we need housing and we need food, right? Followed by clothing. If we got those three things, we could probably live without the rest.
Water.
Well, yeah, food, water. I think they're in that mix, right? Yeah. But these are the things, like, if you just had those basic necessities, you could exist. But that's if you're healthy. Yeah, and how do we regain our soil? Is like our society. It is unhealthy. And we have been using profit to make decisions that have weakened our position as a community. You know, at one point, right, you had to be rich to eat imported food. Yeah. Today you got to be rich to eat local food.
Yeah.
How does this make sense? Right? It only makes sense through the lens of weaponizing food. Yeah? This is something that, like, have you ever read the Queen story?
No.
Okay, so straight out, you watching this, you need to read Queen Liliuokalani's story, written by the Queen herself. Okay, because it will put into context. I read this book at 18 years old. I was like...
You know what's crazy about this book? Like, and I'll let you go back because I just wanted to mention, is her eloquence. She spoke beautifully. You listen to us and Plenty Pigeon and Plenty Broken Everything, get straight to it. She was a walking poem. That book was just like, it takes you a moment to actually read it because you have to kind of dissect what she's saying because the words are so beautiful. Like, she was amazing in that.
I mean, without a doubt, we all come from amazing ancestors. Yeah. I definitely think the Hawaiians had such a refined ancestry. Yeah, the Queen's Jubilee, the Queen in the 1800s of England had a party. Yeah, and at this party, she invited every sovereign around the world. And Queen Kapiolani and Queen Liliuokalani went to this Jubilee. They wrote that song, the Queen's Jubilee, about that, right? And the Queen had a problem. Okay, so now you got everybody from around the world came to your party. How do you seat them? So she said, you know what? Whoever can trace their genealogy back the furthest is how I'll seat you. So it's the Queen, it's the Emperor of Japan, followed by Queen Liliuokalani, Queen Kapiolani.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, you know, that puts into context the wealth. You know, when you have, first of all, let's talk about real wealth. Real wealth comes down to abundant lands and healthy people. That's what real wealth is. If you are a chief and your land is pumping food and all your warriors is top shape, you balling. Yeah. That's like when Toyota with rims, like you crawling anywhere, right? Then in that, if you can stay in that for hundreds of years, then you can invest in the people remembering your genealogy. Remember that famous guy that set all of this shit up? And then his son, and then his grandson, and then all the way to you, right? That takes, to have that capacity is a crazy amount of wealth. Yeah, you have to be able to feed people and make people feel secure. Because what happens when this chief takes me out is he changes all of the history. So you have to be abundant for long enough that they can't kill your history, which is where the Hawaiian community is at. Yeah, the Hawaiian community has these intrinsic resources that have begun, I mean, they've been getting plundered in lack of a nation, right? And a lot of it right now is IP. Yeah, if you were any other country in the world and someone is using your terminology for their business, wouldn't you get a piece of that? Mm-hmm. You know, I think of right now, and it's really been, I don't want to say heavy, but this Hawaiian Bros
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The chain, the food chain.
The
you're talking
chain,
about?
yeah. And it's like I seen them supporting Keiki Hula, which makes me feel a little bit better. But here's these Caucasians, yeah, because I scared for use the term haole, because it seems divisive. Like I try and talk shit about somebody. To me, saying you are Caucasian is almost worse than calling you an haole.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
the caucasity of that word.
I you know, but I also feel like haole is a term that has a little bit of negative connotation to it, and I feel like the haules have earned that. It's not a from Captain Cook on every visitor over here.
Well, I guess to each their own, but it's always a case by case basis with everything, huh? And haole, like to me, if you don't use the word haole, then you're taking away power from the Hawaiians. You know what I mean? Like, why would you take away a word that's Hawaiian to begin with? No negative connotation comes out of Olelo, Hawaii. Everything's observation. In my opinion,
I mean,
right?
it's a language that paints a picture.
Yeah. But,
Yeah,
I mean,
and you're seeing in 3-dimensional color, and this term haole is a term that my last 9th grade was the last kill holiday, and my haole friend went to school. This is how you know you haole. Okay, sorry. So you know your haole is, and you tell your mom, today is kill haole day, and she's like, no, you better go to school, boy. You're looking at your mom like, are you serious, bro? My friend spent the whole day in a dumpster. Went to school, got false crack, got thrown in the dumpster, came out of it, somebody threw him in the dumpster. He's like, ah. I showed up after school. He's like, oh, Daniel, safe or what? And half my family is haole. So
yeah, I totally get it. I just, I also see like why it's like that. You know what I mean? They don't school enough about Hawaiian history in schools. Like, had it been that way to begin with, maybe there wouldn't be so much clapback. I feel like Kill Holiday was the clapback from years and years of beating down. You know what I mean? I had written a song. I did a song with Penny Dean and Os. It was for a movie called Aloha Boys, and it was a short film about Joseph Kahahavai.
yeah.
Do you know who Joseph Kahahavai
Yeah.
is? So do you know who Joseph Kahahavai?
No, please share with us.
So Joe Kahahavai, long story short, there was a thing called the Massey Trial in Hawaii, and it was this Navy wife. She was out partying one night or whatever, and I think I'm not too clear on the first.
She
story,
just
but
blatantly accused
she was fooling
of being
around
raped.
with somebody.
Yeah.
She was fooling around with a Hawaiian guy and said she got raped, and so she pointed out somebody. The Navy guys and go fucking beat up a bunch of guys. They beat up Joe Kahahavai, kidnapped him, took him somewhere, and shot him. It went to court, brah. So Joe died, unfortunately, right? Went to court and everything. Found out she was lying.
She admitted she was lying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the husband got sentenced, but then his sentence got commuted to 1 hour in the governor's office.
Not.
And then go back to the mainland, stay away from Hawaii forever.
I mean, that whole thing with the Didi, the FBI agent that killed the Hawaiian guy in McDonald's and got off of it. I mean, this has been happening again and again and again. And these are only the stories that are brought out, right? And that made the headlines. Because here's the reality. From 1893, right, to 1898, they tested everybody's loyalty, right? In order to stay a police officer, you had to sign an oath of loyalty to the Republic
Of America.
of the Republic of Hawaii, which was Stanford Doles. He was the president of that, right? So from the so-called annexation of 1898 to 1959, although we were considered a territory of the United States, right? There was no freedom of speech. There was no right to gather and protest. And really what happened was the mafia and the military and the business were all in cahoots. And you go try protest something. Yeah? Go try protest. First of all of the jobs, this is what I've come to realize. is that the first exodus of Hawaiians that were leaving Hawaii after the overthrow were the most ku'e Hawaiians. Because what they did was they blackballed you economically. And this is stuff that I've experienced. Yeah, in 2011, I was a part of a group that called Kamehameha schools out for leasing land to Monsanto. Yeah, and I'll tell you this. We were telling them back then that Monsanto was committing crimes. Do you know that Monsanto pled guilty to 14 federal crimes that are committed on KS lands with toxic chemicals? Okay? No one's ever gone, oh, Daniel, you're right. We apologize for it. You know what happened after I stood up against Kamehameha schools? Because this is the reality. The people in KS are connected to all the boards that give all the money. I got blackballed. Yeah? And it happened in the same year that we legalized pa'iai. Right? And so the legalization of pa'iai was like this. Was actually one of the most major political victories for Native Hawaiians since the 1978 Con. Yeah, this is where the state acknowledged the existence. Like, why would we have to fight to legalize traditional point making? Let's just talk about how stupid that is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
on what premise did they ban it, though?
Well, this is the history, right? I actually had to become an expert in the history. So, we have this thriving kalo culture community at Contact, feeding hundreds of thousands, if not a million, plus every visitor, right? And Lieutenant King on Captain Cook's ship writes about how delicious the food was. Yeah, he's saying that the Hawaiian dog is finer than the finest English lamb. And these guys are eating poi, right? Well, what happens is Contact, there's a whole battle in Hawaii, right? Kamehameha is a part of this huge battle. But who does he really kill? He kills all the farmers. Yeah, because by that time, in order to feed this thriving population, it required a bunch of farmers. And then the farmers in all wars are the expendable ones. So Kamehameha kills off the farmers, right? I mean, you think of it right now, what calendar does most Hawaiians follow? The Ka'u moon calendar. Why? Because the Maui guys died. Yeah, maybe the Molokai, the Kahunas would still save them, but agriculture as we knew it became a big island thing. It was these chiefs that took over that inherited the land. Well, Kamehameha dies. Measles and smallpox. 50% of the population gets wiped out. Again, who gets wiped out? Yeah? The people that survived that was the chiefs. Right? And this is the crazy thing. In this period is the first time in Western recorded history that Hawaiians run out of poi. Wow. Now, I want you to imagine this. You guys, any of you guys got COVID?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Imagine you simultaneously ran out of food and caught COVID. Yeah, because the measles and the smallpox was the COVID equivalent in 1820. Yeah, it's simultaneously what had happened was, right, the chiefs started divvying up land and trading land and allocating and leasing. And so the water that was going to your taro patch, one day it was like, Coin, you get water. He was like, no. And you guys would follow him up. And then, bro, I get this big rock over here. And then, the water going over there. And then now it's going to this plantation.
So the people came and redirected water to their own.
What happened was the chiefs leased land. With the land, the foreigners took the privilege of taking the water, right? It actually became easier to be a Chinese immigrant, and you would lease land and water from the plantation. So it was actually the Chinese that started the poi industry, the industry. They would simply lease land, right? So the Chinese come in. They go, holy shit, these people are hungry. Let us figure out how to access land and grow taro. Well, they start to make poi. You would simply just take a white rag and tie it to your door. And this was the birth of the poi making industry for commercial. Now, what happened is this other culture took the most sacred food and they changed the recipe. They changed the recipe so much that by 1850, they're having to strain the poi.
Oh.
Right? Now, you know what strained poi, you know what that is short for? I never clean your taro good. Right? And there's this story, Hilea Ike Kalo Eka Eka. And this story talks about a speck of taro skin being found in the poi. And this people from Hilea put to death. And I always thought, gosh, that chief is just unrealistic. But then I read a 1930 paper on the souring of poi, and the microbes that sour poi, guess where they live? In the skin.
Oh. Wow.
So what happens is the recipe for poi begins to change. And I used to tell people this because I grew up in Waianae. And everybody that I pounded taro with, they would sweat in a poi. And people would be like, oh, Daniel, how come your poi so good? I said, oh, because I sweat in them. Then I read this article, 1870, Kupuna's complaining they can taste the sweat of the Chinaman in the poi. Then I'm like, oh, shit, sweat not part of the recipe. Right? It's not too many years later that I actually realized how to not sweat in the poi. Right? It was by wearing my malo. So, you know, Auntie Delani, the tapa maker from Waianae.
Yeah.
In 2006, I was a part of the first Native Hawaiian Arts Month, Maoli Arts Month. It was May. And at that time, I'm talking all of the biggest name Native Hawaiian artists today, no gallery would give them art space. And so what I did was, it's Bethel, and I think it's Pauahi is the next street. So right above Hawaii Theater on Pauahi, there's a corner building. And the way that Chinatown is, the doors have like an apron, so the door doesn't open to the sidewalk. And that corner lot was empty. So I took down the for rent sign and I hung up a piece of wood that we spray painted Homeless Maoli Artist Gallery. And in the little apron where the door is, we set up our gallery. I pulled up my Volkswagen van. I set up a board and stone in the parking spot behind it. We pounded taro and we served laulau and poi on the street in Chinatown in 2006. Oh. But Auntie Delani is she made 4 malos. Ku, Kane, Lono, and Kanaloa. And we'd hung the first 3, and the last malo she gave to me rolled up. And I said, okay, Auntie, where are we going to hang it? She said, no, this is for you. I said, okay. So I took it. I made it like a scarf. And Auntie slapped me, pulled it off, rolled it up, and said, Daniel, this malo is dyed in all of the kino laos of Kanaloa. Wear it, and it will take you beyond the horizon. So freaking kahuna shit, this Auntie. So I put my malo on, first time ever. That's the first time I don't sweat in the poi.
Oh.
I realized, holy shit, this is the uniform of the kalo pounder. You go try look up the archives, but in 2006, no young guys was rocking their malo. Yeah, and then there was a period of time where I was one of the few, if not one of the only guys on a regular basis rocking his malo. Yeah. And then in 2009, I got busted selling pa'iai. Right, 2010, I got busted again selling pa'iai.
How does that happen? Like,
so,
does a cop come like fucking say you can't be slanging?
Police and helicopters. Okay, so let's go back to why. Oh, let me tell you, all my drug dealing in Waianae paid off, bruh. I knew how. You know, look both ways before you cross the street, gangy. Okay. So what happens is the poi recipe changes, and in the way that the Hawaiians had been making it as such a spiritual food, it had become dirty. And so when the poi machine came about in the early 1900s, it was thought as a way to save poi, to make it clean. In 1911, there was a cholera outbreak that was traced back to the poi. And specifically, it was Japanese farmers in Nu'uanu that was using water from the duck pond to mix the poi.
Oh no.
Yeah. This is what happens. What can I ask? What is your lineage? Can you have an interesting accent?
Originally from Israel.
From
the Holy
Israel.
Land.
Okay. So right, like, can you imagine if we took like a famous Israeli dish, right? And then we just blended it with 85% water and we started telling everybody that this is your grandma's favorite food, right? And you're like,
no, it ain't.
Is that? Oh no, so all the same ingredients, right? So, poi has spiritually and culturally been watered down. Then in 1911, basically on Oahu, hand pounding ended. When the regulations changed, you had to have a cement floor, a mill, and pipe water, which at the time was about cleanliness, but it was also taking one bad example and forcing everybody. So all the hand pounding businesses in 1911 went out, which were probably most of the Hawaiian ones, right? Poi changes by 1930. So prior to 1900, lehua, what color is lehua? No, the regular poi everybody talk about. What is the favorite color everybody like their poi? Purple. Yeah. Purple isn't even a descriptor of Hawaiian taro. Because prior to 1900, nobody ate fresh poi. In fact, Puku'i said fresh poi was relegated for invalids and babies. Everybody ate sour poi. And here's the thing that kind of in my mind broke. The term poi is like the term kimchi. Now, if I just give you some cabbage and call them kimchi, is it kimchi?
No.
Okay. It has to be fermented.
Yeah.
And to ferment it is a very specific recipe. It either ferments or it rots. Now, with poi today, poi is actually, it's poi ke'o because it's not fermented. It's not actually poi. Yeah, because it's actually supposed to be fermented. Because what happens in the fermentation and fermented poi is different than sour poi.
Yes.
It's two different. There's three. There's fresh poi, there's fermented poi, and then there's poi ava sour. Those are three completely different microbiology, right? So originally in the food preservation recipe, it's just the starch. But what had happened as it got commercial is they started to clean less, right? And taro, that purple color, is actually from it being overripe. Taro is like a fruit. Yeah, and you can get the green mango for the pickle mango, you can get the ripe mango for the eat, and then you get the overripe mango for the juice. Well, the more ripe it gets, the sweeter it gets. Today people eat fresh, sweet poi. The starch, in the starch molecule is like an egg. And what happens when you pound it is you crack the egg and you release the yolk, which is the beneficial sugar. Which is how it goes from something that looks flaky to something that looks glutinous, which simply just whacking it. When you add the sweeter parts to it, that one doesn't break. It just gets ground. So what happens is you take the ground taro that's full of overripe taro, and the microbes consume it very quickly, and it goes to ava very quickly. But what happens when it's just the starch is that the fermentation is very slow. And what's supposed to happen, you're supposed to have this bowl that you just keep adding fresh poi into it. And the fermented poi that's already in there helps to ferment it more. Now, what people don't understand is poi is the most misunderstood Hawaiian food. And I don't want to say get into arguments with people, but there's levels to this shit, and just people just ain't on the level. And I've stopped worrying about guys that just don't get it. What happens when it ferments is the beneficial microbe, which is related to the Reggiano Parmigiano, right? All of the wines, all of the natto, all of this sauerkraut, kimchi, this is all the cousins, these very amazing beneficial earth microbes. Well, what happens is they consume that beneficial sugar, and their byproduct is a protein.
And this is why Canax was always...
This is why they was in top shape.
Just yoked.
Because they had a protein-based diet. Yeah? That was full of this amazing starch that helped to manage your whole microbiome. And it's connected to the land, right? Yeah. When people say, how you connected to this land? I say, I open my mouth. Just like how you plug in your phone. I open my mouth and I whack them. And that's my connection. And my connection come to a specific plot, and I can tell you, yeah, because I've been feeding the land what it has been eating. So
that brings a whole nother like clarity to Aloha, yeah, like because
That's interesting. So you have farms, you have like poi, you grow poi by yourself?
I am fortunate that I'm a part of a kind of a small but crazy hui. We're like brothers. We either super love each other, or we just like are hating each other, and then we're freaking planting like, screw you, I'm gonna plant more than you, you know, ha ha ha. Watch me cut this thing down. So we have these brothers that we're, you know, it's really hard to love another man in this day and age and appreciate them with all of their flaws. Yeah, but that's what our hui is learning how to do, because that's ohana. Yeah, ohana is like filtering through whatever their mouth might be saying and actually understanding what they are saying because you know them. Yeah. And so in our small hui, we're all on different paths of healing. None of us drink alcohol. All of us are trying to be better fathers. All of us at some point have woken up to some of the skills that we have that other people don't have, and trying to figure out the right way to share it. One of my best friends, Kawe Nahoi, to me is like the most ultimate shining example of the fact that you can. Yeah, that you can recover from loss of people that you love in your life, that you can recover from alcohol and drug abuse, that you can recover from participating in an economy that makes you sick. Yeah, and then you can start to pursue your passions. And I really want to highlight, you know, guys like Kawe and my other friend Benji Rodriguez, who, man, this guy comes to me and he goes, Uncle Daniel, how do I quit my job and be like you? And I said, whoa, ho, brah, you're not ready for this. But this guy was working for the barge that connects the oil rig to Kalailoa. And there's these big underground pipes. And basically what he saw was how much oil gets dumped into our ocean, how the company that they were working for were actually dumping huge sewage from their boat in waters that they weren't supposed to just because they were lazy. And he was making $10,000 a month. And it was kind of like, shut the fuck up money. Like, bro, you're getting paid this well, you should just shut up. Yeah. But it wasn't matching his value system. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And, you know, Benji started Kumu Cars. He started this economy. He is another Hawaiian that has just completely reinvented himself on the Aina. Moved out to Puna, bought a quarter-acre lot, and just is building a subsistence farm for his family. And
was he in Vegas?
Benji, yeah, he actually was for a little bit. His wahine was in Vegas.
Yeah, I remember talking to him for a little while when he started Kumu Cards.
Yep.
Thought that was a brilliant idea.
So again, you know, here's these guys. We have to figure out how to exist in a modern day economy, but on our cultural values and lifestyle. Yeah. Yeah, and really I have found like the cornerstone of being a cultural entrepreneur, yeah, is you help people value what they already have. Yeah, and that mindset, it's a mindset. Value is a mindset. Yeah, and it's one of those things like, as I get older, I'm kind of jealous and valuing my dad's barefootness a lot more. I realized, you got to be a real baller to freaking never wear shoes and feel good about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because he knew him.
That's high level balling. You know, that is, to me, that is like the ultimate rims is your own self confidence and your understanding of what you need to do for yourself. Mm-hmm. How do we encourage that and stay in business? Right? Because ultimately, as adults, we convince each other to do bad shit for money. Mm-hmm. You know, that it's okay. Yeah, we all got iPhones. There's kids in Africa right now that are in a mine for an iPhone. right? We've all, for an economy, we've all figured out how to survive and all shortcutting our own values in doing it. But is there a way out of that? And I myself, you know, I'm harder on myself than I hope anyone else is on me. Like I need to hold myself accountable. A lot of why I do things really boils down to me not wanting to look over my shoulder. To be able for my kids to be like, I want to be like my dad. When my 8-year-old says he wants to be like me, I want to feel proud of that. Yeah, I don't want to think about all the bad shit that I did in life and be like, oh my God, you know. And I can honestly say for the last 10 years of my life, I've been in a space because of so much support to work on that. Yeah, to come out and say, you know, I'm not perfect, but man, I've come freaking far. And I haven't even started to give back yet. You know, I'm just gearing up to have a value that people want. But it's because I valued it. And it's all things that were already in me, but I used to be ashamed of.
Yeah. Crazy, huh?
Yeah, it's freaking crazy. And you know, so far in this path, I have seen people, you know, tell me I'm stupid. Why are you trying to legalize poi, you dummy? Just go buy one machine and be modern. Then to have those kids come and say, Uncle, can you teach us how to kui? And then for me, go, no, I no can. Call your father. Then I put a father on and I said, you like your kids have my stroke? Or do you want me to help you develop your stroke so you can pass your stroke on to your kids, Kanaka? Yeah. And they go, you not mad at me for calling you a dummy? I said, brah, I needed it. That was the motivation I needed, yeah? Sometimes we need that. What is that extreme motivation? I tell you, I find myself to be a motivator. Sometimes you're motivated because you like what I say, and sometimes you're motivated because you don't like what I say. If you're motivated, I did my job.
West Side style, that.
West Side style.
West Side style, bro. You take that shit talking like a man. Like, yeah, okay, fuck it, let's do it then.
Yeah, let's talk shit and then a shovel.
Yeah.
Because that's when guys, they teeter, bro. Try to come hang out with us on our crazy, you know. We pulled off. I tell you what, I'm one of the few guys. I'm the only guy I know that organized and made emo at Iolani Palace, Thomas Square. Yeah. I know 0 Hawaiians that have pulled that off. And I hope that happens soon. Yeah? But why did I do it? I did it because all my kids were a part of the first emu in modern day at Iolani Palace, yeah? They seen them. When guys tell you no can, be like, nah. My dad did them when everybody said no can, right?
Yeah.
So that to me, that's a value that I want to pass on to my kids, is doing stuff despite everybody saying you cannot do it. Like, what is that worth?
Priceless.
You know? And then I'm spoon feeding this to my children on a healthy food diet. Yeah, you know, one of my best things, I love going to parties, and my kids is like, Dad, red juice. Yeah, go have one party. Hey, 3 sips in, they're like, can I have some water, Dad? The same thing with the birthday cake, right? Cause I am a mean dad, cause I don't give my kids Skittles and Starburst, I buy them 0 sugar. I buy ice cream. Yeah? Healthy popsicles. But because I've done that, you know, if you ask them, oh, you like noms? Or you like, I take the noms, Uncle. But it's too much for them. Yeah? Like, our kids, we don't realize the sugar epidemic is serious.
It's real bad. I'm not giving my daughter sugar.
I don't know. I see parents doing it, and I at this point in my life, I have to explain to my kids why they're special, and that's why I don't do it. Yeah.
That's a nice way to put it. I remember as a kid, I've been fed cereal every morning. Yeah. Every morning. And then you go to school and you're on fire. You're like, and then they want you to focus. So, of course, sooner or later, they're like, oh, he has a problem, and then I got a Ritalin and all that kind of crap. I mean, it's such a joke.
People
And
ask,
you know what I saw on the Honey Nut Cheerios? You know how it says may reduce cholesterol?
yeah,
Yeah.
May not.
Yeah.
You know, may not.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
Fuck, may make you a millionaire.
may not.
May not.
What the fuck is that?
yeah, but 20 years ago, it said reduce cholesterol. Right today, there's a higher accountability that food labeling is having to do, and not that it matters. I don't know if you read the ingredients. You know, I tell you what, this is a business. This is a business idea. I'll put it out there. Who's gonna start bringing the crack seed with no aspartame, no saccharin? I'm talking good old-fashioned sugar. Yeah, I love lihimoy. I have not been able to eat lihimoy because I cannot find lihimoy without aspartame, without saccharin, without these artificial chemicals in it. And let me tell you, lihimoy is an ancient recipe. This shit, these Chinese, they've been making preserved shit for a long time.
Yeah.
We don't realize, right? You know what aspartame is?
No.
My kids, they're so good at this. Oh, it's doo-doo of doo-doo. They take toxic chemicals. They take microbes and they feed it toxic chemicals. The byproduct of the microbe is sweet, but your body doesn't recognize it as sugar. It is literally the doo-doo of doo-doo. They take E. coli, which is the microbe that consumes the chemicals that produces aspartame.
Ugh.
And it's in everything. I mean, I don't want to say like I've turned into my dad. I'm a weirdo about what I eat. That's partially why I farm and want to be a greater part of my food system. But I also see it as an insulation. You know, when we did that planting, was a new protest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we planted 300 ulu trees in Kahana. That 2025 will start to be producing fruit.
Oh.
Now, their capacity is probably for the first year about 50 pounds a tree. Okay?
Oh.
But by year 7, we should be at 500 pounds a tree.
Wow.
So in one day, we're going to have, 150,000 pounds of ulu every year from one day worth of planting.
Bruh. That is some foresight, bro.
That's crazy, man. And they could do it all over. They could do it all over.
I'll be honest, it cost me 10 grand. I bought all the ulu trees. I paid the gas.
Yeah.
That's nothing. That's nothing. Our state, our state is sick. Our politicians are sick. The fact that the thing right in front of them, they're looking over there. Oh, we got to do offshore windmills. It's like, how's about we just heal this land right here? And in 10 years of us investing in our soil, using sewage, using food waste. Let me tell you, you know this imported food issue we have? If the food waste went into compost for the soil, our land would be getting healthier from imported food. Yeah? If we were using the humanure from imported food, we'd be adding trace minerals from someplace else here. Because
Why do you think they don't do it? Why?
let me tell you why.
Tell me.
First
wanna
of all,
understand.
it's convenience. We have a system that is built, right? The whole Red Hill water issue. Why is that a problem? It was built in convenience. It wasn't built to protect our aquifer. It was built as the most convenient way to hide all of this fuel. The same thing with our sewage system. Yeah, I've been saying this for years. I hope somebody from Aloha is listening. You know that Kaka'ako spot they got? They should do a huge sewage treatment, right? And a desalinization plant. And then what we as the community do is we force all of Waikiki to pay the Hawaiians to take a shit and fucking drink water. And if we do that, I'm pretty sure the Hawaiians going to be good, because 10 million tourists a year taking a shit in Waikiki has got to be some cha-ching.
Yeah.
And the amount of water that they're using, if they actually had to pay their fair share, that would actually mean more water for taro farming, but for our children. Yeah, that would help heal our inshore fisheries. Yeah, I grew up fishing in Waianae. I don't know if you talk to your uncles, but there used to be a style of ahi fishing called palu ahi. And we would anchor right on the 90-foot ledge, and you would hang your boat over thousands of feet. So you would see your anchor on the ledge, and then it would just be blue. And everybody would palu with chum. And there'd be a line of like 60 or 80 boats. And from one side, and the boat next to you, the lines would, and then the ahis would streak through, and it was just the most craziest, mentalist fishing ever. 100-pound ahis, 0 engines, just guys going mental, and then you're watching everybody else lose it. Today, no more water on the west side. All the bait fish, all the opai, all the limu, all of the seaweed, all of that stuff gone. Ahis 30 miles out. Yeah, the role of water can't just be for national security. Yeah. It can't. Like, part of the security of our nation has to be the health of the people in that community. Because if we're making our own community sick, what are we protecting? Yeah, what is the U.S. Army protecting when they poison us? Yeah, what are they protecting? If you want American, if he want American, if I want American, and this is our community, and Hawaii is America, what are they protecting if they're bombing us, if they're polluting us? How does this make any sense?
Well, to be fair, they're not here for Hawaii. They're here to to secure the mainland. They couldn't care less about Hawaii, to be honest. I mean, this is my point of view.
I agree with you, but there's also, if you listen to the rhetoric they say, they're here to save us all, that they treat us all equally, and they value Aina. I mean, you should hear the shit that these guys are talking. They're using terms like Aloha Aina in U.S. military briefings. What do we do as our community? Yeah. I had this thought. So, what do you call somebody that doesn't live in their home country because of military occupation?
Refugee.
A refugee. So the 50% of Hawaiians that don't live in Hawaii, they're refugees. Yeah? And if this place is America, then the other 50% that live here are, guess what? Refugees. Yeah? There's no such thing as diaspora. They're refugees. They are people that have fled. Yeah, that have had to leave because of economic warfare. Yeah? Because of lack of resources. Because of straight not following the law. I mean, these are things that in our community, this is why it's jammed up, because we don't really know how to label ourselves to properly heal. Yeah, when someone tell you in refugee, that immediately means you're not in your home country. And how we heal that is we put you back in your home country. Yeah. You know, I mean, I don't know if you knew this, but America has apologized 5 times in history. And one of those times was to the Hawaiians, where they clearly said, yeah, we broke international law, and yes, you do have unrelinquished ties to this place.
Why nobody does anything about it? Because technically there's a lot of people that say they have like a different passport and not to, abide by the American this, and this is colonizers and...
So let me just tell you, I have gotten every single different Hawaiian Kingdom ID possible. I've been arrested with every single ID. And it'll help you in America. I scrap in the court system in Hawaiian language in Mamalo. 20 years. The state of Hawaii has documented their discrimination of me solely for the use of Hawaiian language in the court system. And the Hawaiian language is the judicial language. So my question that I asked the judge is, how can you be a judge when you don't understand the judicial language? You know why there's no interpreters in the Hawaiian court system, in the Hawaii court system? This will blow your mind. This took me like about 15 years of getting smashed. You only provide interpreters for foreign languages, brother. The court system has been operating under the guise of Hawaiian proficiency since 1978. And you know why in 1978 they made it an official language? Because we would have been the only state in the union operating every day in a foreign language. I actually qualify for a constitutional disability.
Constitutional disability.
I'm crippled.
Constitution, like
Because I have followed the Constitution, I have been discriminated against. It's like, you know, ADA. If you know motor ramp, they can sue you.
Yeah.
Well, I waited for the class action lawsuit because I believe that there is a lawsuit from Hawaiian language users, from parents of Hawaiian language students, for safety. Yeah, if you in Costco and get one fire and your baby that speaks and reads in Hawaiian sees exit with the red X, you think your kid gonna go through that? I think based on safety that the state needs to implement Hawaiian language for all signage. And the reality, and I actually almost, Department of Transportation hates me because I introduced legislation to whenever they put new signs, they were going to have to put English and Hawaiian signs. And what the Department of Transportation said, it was too expensive for them to follow the Constitution. They couldn't afford it. But the reality is, you go anywhere else in the world where there's two languages and everything is in those two languages, and you know how fast you learn the other language?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like the state of Hawaii has actually stolen the right to Olelo from our community. Stolen! Literally took it and has made it absolutely difficult to use it. Yeah, I think in every state office there needs to be someone that can Olelo. In every political office there needs to be somebody that can Olelo. And if just by doing that we've infiltrated the system with Hawaiian-minded people, regardless of their race. Because right now some of the top Hawaiian language speakers, they're not Hawaiian. But their brain has been corrupted by Hawaiian language. And it's real hard for be evil when you realize what you're being evil about. Yeah? And when the language is your connection. They actually use language as a weapon. Yeah, they weaponized it to help their friends. Because when you went court and you couldn't speak perfect English, they knew already, oh, victim. Now I speak Hawaiian. They don't know what to do. Yeah, this is what used to happen. I used to go there. Right, this is how I came much better in speaking Hawaiian. I went freaking right out everything. I wouldn't go over there for study, for beef these guys in court. Yeah, what would happen is I'd introduce myself in Hawaiian. And they'll go, oh, this is going to take time. You know what, we're going to put you at the end of the docket. And then they clear out the courtroom, call me back up and say, oh, continue on behalf of the state. So now when I go, they go, you know, Anthony, last name, you're in the top 5.
Yeah.
So I go up, I introduce myself in Hawaiian. Then they go, oh, this is going to take time. We'll put you at the end of the docket. I turn around and go, Kalamai kako. You guys mind? This is going to take a few minutes. They go, everybody go. I go, okay, proceed, Your Honor. And they go, oh, continue on behalf of the court. You see, I am privy to a fair and speedy trial just like anybody else. And when you put me at the end of it, you broke the law. Yeah? But I wasn't conscious and aware of how to orchestrate and run the court system. So now they don't like me. Because I ask very simple questions. Yeah? How are you a judge if you cannot speak the judicial language? Because the moment you bring in one translator, I'm going to say she's not translating right.
Yeah.
Yeah? So as the judge, you the guy, and I'm waiting. I've been waiting to get sentenced from a Hawaiian-speaking judge. I look forward to that day, sadly. Because then I feel like Hawaiians will find justice in the court system when the court system that is based on their language is actually run in their language. And that any judge that is proficient in Hawaiian language has a much deeper understanding and connection. And I would say has a much better chance of judging me based on my merit.
100%.
What's beautiful is in this day and age, a lot of our younger generation are a lot more in tune with Olelo Hawaii and understanding how important it is to get the Olelo and carry it forward. You know, there was a period in time where it was beaten out of the culture, right? So a lot of these, like, what amazed me, I always go back to Mauna Kea, right? What amazed me the most was that seeing how much young people knew what they were talking about up there. And so with people like you being able to share this down to already those generations, these guys are like ready to help
There's a
follow with the wave, you know what I mean? Like to defend and support.
there's an angry group of entitled Hawaiians coming right behind. And these are ones that are crafty in their language and understand their place. But guess what they don't have? Life experience. Yeah, and this is something that, like, it has taken me to get to 46 to actually go through scenarios and be like, oh shit, I've already done this. I know what's gonna happen next. Yeah, so it's like, we're in an interesting time. This generation is gonna have to grow up quickly because they have a lot of potential, but they are also succumbing to, you know, not eating well, to, you know, having to chase money to survive, and not really seeing the patterns, their own life patterns. Yeah, still trying to do good, but still, you know, I went to the canoe race. My daughter just came in from Molokai. She's 16 years old. And while I was there, I asked myself the question, is drinking a part of paddling culture, or is paddling culture a part of drinking culture? Yeah, because everybody's sucking them up. And Brad, there's no native cultures that thrive on alcohol. Yeah, it has diminished our capacity and our capabilities. and I hope that this next generation gets through their alcoholism a little bit quicker, and that party scene, and that just desire for material stuff, to me is what I see many of them using their skills for, instead of really harnessing what it's going to take to build up their Lahuian community. Yeah, there's still a lot of people just calling each other out, but they just, like, you got to pick your battles. And how do we frame it where we can inspire people by not making them feel shitty? And this is just shit that I've had to learn about. You know, it's like, oh, Daniel, just because you eat good, don't talk shit about other people eating good. But it's like, man, how do I inspire people to quit eating rice? How do I inspire people to eat from the aina?
Quit eating rice.
Well, I ask you this question.
It's a big ask.
Right? I'm Japanese. Okay? On my Japanese side, my family name is Tanaka. You know what Tanaka mean? Rice farmer. Okay? I come from rice farming roots, okay?
Oh, Tanaka Maoli.
Tanaka Maoli. Yeah, there you go. And I'm racist. I'm racist, and I tell you why I'm racist. Come to find out, in Japan has 30 grades of rice. What is Caro's on that?
Oh, bottom, I bet.
Bro, that's how crazy it is. 20 years ago, there was a GMO contamination of rice in California. Rice futures in Japan fell. They don't even allow Calrose into the country. It's not considered rice.
Ooh.
Yeah, like the shit that we call rice is just like the poi that we call poi. It's a rice-like product. What we're eating today is a poi-like product. Yeah, and then how do we change that? Because let me tell you, you go to Japan, you eat the chronic rice, you become racist too. You're like, holy shit. Yeah. I'm marveling over this grain. I don't know how something this tiny can be this delicious. Yeah, rice has become... I mean, if you really look at how Asians eat, they don't eat the 4 scoops of rice with gravy all over it. You know, we've become weaponized. You know, this is interesting. So, in 1959, there was 200 rice factories in Hawaii. Okay, and we had this is even crazier. We had the freaking best rice in the world, because it was all the OG strains that the Chinese brought and the Japanese brought that they were now growing in paradise. Fully beautiful, organic, rich Hawaiian soils, right? The rice was just major. Statehood comes. 1960, 1 year. All 200 rice businesses went under. Subsidized California rice killed our rice economy in 1 year. 1959 is most famous for this: statehood, Reef Runway Airport, the first Safeway, H1, and poi consumption dropped by 60%, and every single rice business went under. Subsidized white rice. So I look at rice as bullets of the oppressor, and this. I wanted to do a T-shirt of the Spam Musubi gun, and it said nobody ever forced you to put it in your mouth. You know what I'm saying? But we are literally killing each other through this food that we are now branding ourselves with. Yeah. What is the guy, Andrew Zimmern, Bizarre Foods? I got to hang out with him, and he don't eat Spam. And I said, Andrew, how come you don't eat Spam? And he goes, well, Daniel, I grew up right behind the pipe in Minnesota from the Spam factory. It poured out right below a hill from my house, and if you smelled the shit that came out of that pipe, you'd fucking never eat Spam either.
I bet.
So what is a meal in the Anthony household then? You know, there's a lot of food talk. Like, what do you serve up on a daily? What is like lunch, dinner, breakfast like?
Well, first of all, breakfast is served by 11 by a 9-year-old. He make breakfast every day.
Ooh.
Otherwise, I got a rule. If dad doesn't eat by 11, somebody getting lickings. So literally 10:59. Lately, it's been eggs.
That's your
eggs.
son. That's why you're pushing it up.
Oh yeah.
It's like 10:59. I get him.
Oh, he push him. He's like, no, Dad. I know it's past 11, but I made it at 10:59.
Yes,
This guy, he's smooth. Let me just tell you. So eggs. Lately, I've been getting these bagels from the Kaka'ako Farmers Market. So they've been using ulu and luau from us in the bagel.
Ooh.
So I've been eating luau bagels with eggs and then pickled vegetables. A little bit of poi, pa'iai. You know, dinner could be emu beef stew. I mean, let me tell you, what is my most sought after? I love emu dish. Sounds so shame. Emu soy chicken. Oh, brother. Emu soy chicken is just oh my God.
Emu
Murder.
How? Like, so you guys use pans?
Oh, stainless steel pan. You know what?
Yeah.
You know what else I love to do? I just take the pot. I put all the tea stuff inside, mamaki, olena, uhal, whatever. Put the whole pot right inside the emu.
Yeah.
Emu tea. Oh, that is delicious. We went through a big emu phase. I got emu food in the freezer right now from the emu a week and a half ago. So, yeah, I'll be honest, I'm spoiled. I be driving around, I be thinking like, oh, I'm hungry. Then I just think about what I have to eat at home. I'm going home.
Yeah.
I got lau laus right now. I got cheeseburger lau laus and pork lau laus in the fridge.
Oh, cheeseburger lau laus.
We've been eating choke ulu. So at the farmer's market, I've been doing this poi fe. It's like a parfait. So it's 4 ounces of ulu poi. There's 2 qualifications of poi. There's poi, which is the unadulterated ground taro product, contains no less than 27% solids. And then there's a subclass of poi called poi ready to eat, which has only 15% taro.
Oh.
So like all the refrigerated brands of poi, in order for it to be thick and creamy in the fridge, it's 85% water.
What?
Oh no, you ruin
You
everything.
mean like
for
I'm
me.
getting a container of like Waihole poi from Costco? That's
If you're getting the refrigerated poi,
Yes.
which I want to say nameless brands because these brands all hate me, Taro brand, Honolulu poi. They hate me because they would change the poi recipe. I mean, I'll tell you what, this is something that pissed me off, and I get a lot of heat for this. But if you use a machine, why are you putting poi pounder on your label? To me, that is the ultimate appropriation right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, people
True.
think that is hand pounded because get them on top of the label.
Yeah.
Which, that type of poi is called mikini ai, machine poi. It's not poi, it's mikini ai. Yeah? Hawaiians are very specific, yeah? So I actually make a poi ready to eat. So I have to dilute it even more. So it's 85% water, ulu poi, so it's creamy in the fridge. And then I do taro leaf, whole coconuts in the Vitamix with honey. That's the second layer. Then mango, then granola, and then I'm doing a turmeric whipped cream, a Olena whipped cream. So that's one of them. And then the other one is the ulu poi, luau, taro leaf, whole coconuts, honey, cacao powder. We're doing the cacao luau. Scoop of that, fresh cut bananas, granola, and Olena whipped cream. So that one right there, I got a kid, he can eat 5 of those a day. No questions asked. I'm talking from the 18-month to the 18 year. That one, out the door, gotta go to school. That is such a no-brainer. They love it. Ulu fries, ulu salad, like a potato salad, with the egg and the mayonnaise, but with breadfruit instead.
Is it hard to work with ulu?
No. I tell you, right now I picked the ulu. So I have fresh ulu for sale. Then I steam the ulu. I got whole steamed ulu for sale. Then I cut off the skin. I cut out the center of it. I take that scraps. I put it right in the deep fryer. That's my ulu fries. Then I have cubed ulus that I can sell. But I can also pound it and make ulu pa'iai. Then I can dilute it and make ulu poi. Then I dilute it again and make poi ready to eat. Out of one thing, I got like a plethora of products.
And so you do a lot of these at the farmer's market. This is kind of like...
So what happened was, one, I've been trying to figure out how to spend more time farming, which means for the first time I actually have to make money farming. Because I've never made it a point. My agriculture has never been about making money. It has been about feeling secure and about having the highest quality of food. Also about having seed stock, right? Huli, taro seed stock isn't preservable outside of planting it. So if I want to have seed stock, I have to plant it, right? During COVID, we gave out 50,000 huli into the community.
I remember that.
But it's because we had it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I can't feed you. But here's something to feed yourself, right? And then the other part was we did this 5G Kalo challenge. It was growing it in a 5-gallon bucket. And it was really, the idea of the 5G Kalo challenge was to help people deal with domestic violence, depression, because everybody was trapped in their home during COVID. Yeah, and I can't tell you how many people called me and said, Daniel, just watering my taro plant and watching it grow is the only growth that is happening in my life right now. I can't talk to my husband, but I can talk to my taro. Yeah, my wife don't like me, but some reason this 5-gallon pot of taro, every time it sees me, it smiles. That makes me feel better. And I realized if I could help a family go from 30 meals being dependent on the system to 29 meals, just because they had a 5-gallon pot of taro, they could make 1 pot of luau stew a month. That potentially we had the ability to impact 1 million meals a month by just helping families with 1 meal. Because that's when you take our society and 1 meal is 1 million people. And that what happened when we gave the huli is they grew it, it fed them, but then they had huli. So now they was giving their cousins, right? And the idea of what is this abundance and does it make you feel secure? So we went to the market about 6 weeks ago because we actually have more than we can consume ourselves. We have more than what our programs can fulfill. Right now on luau leaf, we're harvesting about 200 pounds a week of luau leaf. I have a cousin, their baby needs emergency medical care. They're looking for donations. I said, I can't give you guys, I don't have any money to give you, but I can make 100 pounds of luau stew. And you have your friends go sell the luau stew, and it's 100% for you guys. And yeah, it's going to cost me a little bit. I got to kill a pig, or I got to go buy some pork and some onion. But for the $100 of cost that I'll have, I'm able to provide $1,200 worth of food in the community. People eating healthy food, yeah. But then the money gonna go to Bebe, who needs it, right? The farmer's market has been more, though, about teaching my kids. So my 14-year-old is my market manager.
Yeah.
And my 9-year-old is her assistant. I talk to 0 customers. They run the whole front of the house. I stand in the back of the house. I support them. We built our whole booth. I got monkey pod tables at the farmer's market.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't want to participate in the Costco culture of just buying everything in my
Yeah.
setup. I wanted to participate in making it. We got a wood mill. We got these resources. What it's really turned into is Saturday at the market is a social time where the uncles get to go out and have fun and get to tease each other a little bit. And then we all get to make, people might think this is bad, but the market is kind of like our scraps. Yeah, it's like the leftovers from the week. We are making for the community of what we're eating.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's actually turned into almost a reverse thing. I make way more than I need at the farmer's market, and then for the rest of the week, I get poi fees.
Yeah.
It's more than just selling food. Yeah, it's about raising my family. It's about teaching them economy. It's about also training my kids. Yeah, my kids, they make eye contact. They say, "Good morning, Uncle." "Good morning, Uncle." You hear them all, "Good morning, Uncle." Here's a 9-year-old that's learning the appropriate time to meet strangers and engage strangers. Yeah, and I have to teach them, okay, when you're behind the counter, you engage them. When you're in front of the counter,
Yeah.
you're a 9-year-old in
Yeah.
a sea of people that would do harm to you. But finding the appropriate places and times to teach your kids these lessons are so valuable.
Yeah.
So yeah, farmers market is farm school curriculum for the kids,
Yeah.
and it's a way for us to showcase really how to eat foods that you should be embarrassed that you're buying from me. Yeah, because you can go home, plant one ulu tree, plant your 5-gallon bucket, make your own poi fei.
Yeah.
But it might take you coming to the market and eating this thing that you never thought you'd eat, luau for breakfast, being inspired, and then going home and maybe planting something or participating or, valuing what you have. I used to, this is not applicable anymore, but I used to tell people that I could tell who live in the house by the ulu tree. Yeah, if the ulus were on the ground, it was either Haulis or Hawaiians. Because Hawaiians before eating ulu was like, my papa used to eat that. Us guys, we eat rice, bro. I go work, I buy rice. If the ulus from here down were missing, then it was Samoans and Tongans. And if there was no ulus on the tree, just missed the Micronesians.
Bro, they smash ulu.
Right, they smash.
They smash them, bro. Like that, and that's something that got me more intrigued with it. Like I'm like, bro, what am I missing out on? Because it's not regular. Like, I buy and eat. There's things that I'm good at, things I'm not good at. Very aware. Growing food, never even touched it growing up. Wasn't part of my history or anything. Eating food, great at it, 110%. But ulu, like you don't see it regularly in most of our local culture.
It has a terrible shelf life. Once you pick it, it's soft the next day. So it's hard. This is a food that is hard for corporations to run. Yeah, this is a chink in the freaking dragon scales is the ulu, because the best formula is it's growing in your community, right? And what Brenton Awa has done is he's planted ulu on the side of the roads, which to me is a huge solution. Yeah, if we just looked at all these places we got side of the road, why aren't we growing food?
Yeah.
And if the Micronesians are harvesting it, selling it, awesome. Because I'm going to teach my kids to beat the Micronesians.
Yeah, exactly.
Kid,
right?
we're going right now, 2 o'clock in the morning. Let's go. It's like, oh my God, the Hawaiians and the Fijians is up there. Yes, amen. Let's go, right?
Yeah.
Because these are teaching there's, today harvesting is when you walk around a store with a cart.
Yeah.
Yeah? But before, you used to walk in your aina. Yeah, and you used to do this. So, how do we begin to exercise those muscles? I tell you what, this past ulu season has been so smash. We're talking since May, close to 15,000 pounds of ulu I went through. The other week, no joke, right here in my arm, bro, I had this pain. It was like hurt to touch. It was like, oh my God, what did I do to my arm? The following week, I was picking ulu. I realized, holy shit, I pulled my ulu muscle.
Your ulu muscle.
First time in life. So, normally you eat luau, you get green doo-doo. This is the first year of my life I had yellow doo-doo.
Yeah.
Yeah, from eating so much breadfruit.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to move into more of a seasonal thing. What is seasonal and available, we want to hit it really hard and want to eat as much as we can. One of the new dishes been blowing minds is the inari ai. So you know the inari cone sushi?
Yeah.
We take the cone sushi, we put pa'i ai, and then fish. We've been doing spicy ahi on that.
Oh.
Riceless. Amazing. We do the same thing. We do a nori ai. We just the nori, the pa'i ai, and whatever fish or pickled vegetables, and it is amazing. Simple. We're already eating it. Yeah, we just gotta learn how to substitute. The reason I focus on poi and ulu as starches is because if we have one menu change, yeah, our starch is 45% of our diet. If we just do one thing, 45%, we change the economy, right? You think of it, we import 1 million pounds of rice a day. So right now there's a 365 million pound ulu / kalo / banana market. You know, times $3 a pound. Yeah, that's like over $1 billion in starch. Just it's right there. But what it requires is it requires us to slightly change our habits, to maybe bring back some practices. You know, I think a lot of people try to make poi and it's hard and they give up instead of committing and sacrificing and like everything else, building your skills and your muscles. Because at some point with training, you should be able to sit down and make at least a week's worth of food for you and your family in 2 hours. And if it take you 30 minutes for cook rice every night, I just saved you an hour and a half. And you're eating healthy. Yeah, and I ask the kids this all the time. I say, kids, if there's one thing a week that you could do that would add 10 years of life to your parents and your grandparents, would you do it? They go, yeah. I said, well, I better see you in my house pounding taro. Because when you put Hawaiians on this diet, they go from 55 to 65. Yeah, and I use 48 as my metric of when you can give back. But if you dine at 55, you could only give back 7 years. Yeah, when we lose our elders, those are the give back. That's the give back part of society. We lost that. And if the only reason we lost it is because we didn't have the willpower to eat well, how do we build that willpower? Without feeling shame, but to look at it as just this raw economic opportunity. One, for your body, the economy of health. Yeah, two, really, what is the economy of us eating from our aina? Is tens of thousands of jobs. And I'm talking real jobs. You know, the kind of you wake up and you love what you're doing every single day because you're building soil and you're feeding your aunties and your whole neighborhood and you're surfing and you're living one full lifestyle and shit. You still get your phone, you still get the internet. Because to me, the future of Hawaii has to be 20,000 full-time mahi'ai. And with that, we're solid. We even feed the military. Yeah, and there is enough land. Yeah, it's just, the land is currently under bad leadership. And, you know, I think what will happen is when our connection to Hawaii grows physically through what we eat, it'll force us to be people of action. Yeah, it'll force us to vote. It'll force us to participate. Yeah, right now the big dock strike is happening, and I already see people going to Costco and stocking up on all of this stuff. Imagine we took that same effort and people were going and helping farmers right now. Yeah. Like, oh, there's a hurricane. Let me go help my farmer. Yeah. Not go Costco. Let me go help my farmer. Yeah. When you open your fridge, who do you see? And if it's only the checkout lady in the store, you have so much opportunity. Because every food should be somebody that you love. And let me tell you, when you open your fridge and it's full of food from people that you love, and then you use that to feed your kids, oh, you feel like a way different dad. Yeah, and then more than providing for your kid sustenance, you're providing one community. Yeah, when I open the fridge and it's just all imported foods, I'm just thinking like, oh, bro, whose kid am I sending to Punahou? Nobody I'm related to. Yeah. Which which farm across the ocean thousands of miles away is doing better because I'm eating shitty? That's embarrassing. That's what I think about. Yeah.
It's beautiful, bro. Let's go.
Wow. So if there's one thing that you can tell our audience that they can change in their day to day or in their lifestyle, if there was be one thing to help what you believe in, what would it be?
Start dreaming. Yeah, we've forgotten how to dream as a community. Yeah, go to your favorite place and take a nap and ask your ancestors to whisper secrets in your ear. Yeah, that we have to figure out how to get through this unbearably difficult place in life, and there's zero logic. Yeah, in our dreams is the solutions. In our dreams is the inspiration. In our dreams is a whole universe for us to each to tap into. Yeah. And where would I be without dreaming? I can't even tell you. Partly why I go and make emu all over the place is to sleep at these sacred places. Yeah, I'm one of the very few people that has a house that gets to sleep at Thomas Square. Mostly, to be pre-qualified to sleep at Thomas Square, you don't have a house. Yeah. I've slept at Iolani Palace. Yeah, brought my kids there while making food, doing ceremony. Yeah. I've emued at, Makua Beach. I've emued at very sacred places all around, and I do it to light a fire and invite the kupunas to come and dream with us, to have to sleep there, to have to bring my kids to these places to sleep. So yes, I think dreaming is something that has been replaced by screen time, and I think they could work together. Yeah, maybe there's an iPhone in your mind that you can scroll through while you're looking for solutions, but I believe that there's more than what we see. Yeah, and that our senses, our eyes, our nose, our taste, those are like the real low sense. Yeah, that there's a whole other thing that is happening that we are not even at that level. We're not even aware. But when we dream, we are open to that. So, let's bring back dreaming as a part of something that we desire, that we want.
It's beautifully said. Beautifully said. And to be honest with you, it's very inspiring to sit with you and listen to you. It's really inspiring because it feels that you really care about the Aina and that you're trying to bring everybody, not just yourself. You don't want to enjoy by yourself from this tapping into the Aina. You want everybody to tap into the Aina and connect to the Aina in spiritual, physical, and that's amazing. And thank you so much for coming and joining us. We've been 2 hours. 2 hours. And we
Like
have
that.
something
Like a
small
blip.
for you.
Yeah, like a blip, bro. Ooh.
We want to make sure that we award you the Aloha Hour Hama Award.
Yeah.
'Cause
Let's
you
go.
won Hama,
Let's go, guys.
Certified hammer.
certified Hama.
Anybody lock the keys in the car in Waikiki? DM me right now. I will help you.
And
Thanks, guys.
It's a useful award.
Yes.
I will not hang this on the wall, guys. We'll go into our workshop, and
Yeah.
believe it or not, I will send you guys a picture of a 7 and a 9-year-old wrecking shit up with this
Yeah.
hammer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what's the schedule at Kaka'ako?
We're there every Saturday from 8 to 12. You can learn about us, ainamomona.org, at Mana'ai on Instagram. I don't really.
This is your nonprofit?
This is our nonprofit. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't really really promote the stuff that we're doing, mostly because I get a lot of people that just reach out directly, and that's more than I can handle.
Yeah.
I like to kind of do things like real personal. It's better to have 5 guys show up and do a volunteer day than 50 sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because part of it is connecting with people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it seems like that's what people are really seeking. They want not just Hawaii,
Yeah.
but they want the people. They want to connect with a culture. They want to do something with meaning, and it's, Kama'aina, Native Hawaiians, visitors alike, we are all equally suffering. So, you know, as we heal, as we grow, hopefully we can grow together and build bonds. We know this. Eating together has been a way for different cultures and different people to have and build unity. And it's through food. Food is magic.
Yes.
Yeah, and then when it's grown, I'll leave you guys with this, yeah? Before we clear the land, we pray. Before we plant, we pray. Before we harvest, we pray. Before we make the meal, we pray. Before we eat, we pray. What are we eating? Prayer. Yeah, and that's a missing ingredient in our society, because we all come from people, highly spiritual people, that required sacrificing, giving thanks, and asking and manifesting. This is every culture on the planet. If you are a living human being today, your ancestors practiced that. And so, you know, to the prayer, I just would like to say that, you know, I hope we get to spend a little more time eating the spiritual food of life.
Amen.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, bro.
Blessings.
Yes.
Blessings. What a pleasure.
Oh, Snizzle going to end with some kind of crazy rap over here. I know this guy just been collecting all kind.
Hey, yo.